panther opened its bloody mouth and bit the boy, but to save the boy's life, because down below, a python has been salivating over him for a long time. Only by taking the boy to a safe place, he can survive in the forest. But the lone panther was clearly not fit to care for him, so he drops him off outside the wolf's den and leaves, but for the boy's safety. He doesn't go far. He hides in the bushes nearby. It wasn't long before a head emerged from the hole. A coyote was the first to spot him. The boy was covered in blood. The coyote looked worried, but his brothers were not so kind. They all looked fierce, smelling the blood. His parents followed, but when they realized it was a human child, they quickly retracted their fangs. They couldn't figure out, how could a human cub be here? The mama licked the blood from his body and found no wounds on the boy. It wasn't hard to guess. This blood is probably from his real parents. The boy's harmless appearance instantly made the wolf mom feel sorry for him. She wanted to take this human child in, but she needed the permission of the wolf king. So the wolf pack held a meeting, but when they heard that they were going to adopt this human boy, everyone thought it was a joke, because in their minds, humans are dangerous, even if it's just a baby. Even the wolf king was hesitant. The panther from the beginning arrived. He brought a note to the pack as a gift to keep the boy here, but the decision is still the king's. As he watched the boy struggle with his own decision, an unexpected visitor came in. It turned out to be a tiger, the most vicious in the forest. He was injured in his right foot by a human. That's why the Wolf King became the master of the forest. That's why he hated both the humans and the Wolf King. The tiger came here to ask for the boy, because it killed his parents not long ago, but it accidentally left the boy behind. The panther saved him and brought him back to the pack. You do not want to challenge me. When the Wolf King saw how arrogant the tiger was, he couldn't stand it any longer. He decided to adopt the boy and ordered the wolves to prepare for battle. Watching the wolves approaching and the two guardian beasts, the tiger knew he was outnumbered. He could only say that he would eat the boy one day. Then he left. These words were a challenge to the status of the Wolf King. He declared that from this day on, the entire clan would protect the human cub, and so it was. Under the protection of the Wolf King, the boy grew up in the forest. The Black Panther was his teacher. He taught him not only how to hunt, but also the law of the jungle. Whenever he hunted an animal, you must look them in the eye, so that their souls would not die alone. In addition, he had another teacher, the Black Bear. Unlike the panther, he was very strict. The scorpion crawls up to the boy's face and holds the needle up high, but the black bear would not allow the boy to move. It's a way for him to build up his concentration and courage. Don't look at the bear as strict in class, but when he looks at the boy's back after class, he always smiles with pride. He loves the student from the bottom of his heart, but because of his looks, the boy was not popular among the wolves. Only his parents, who raised him, and his brother, who treated him like family. There was also a little white wolf who suffered the same fate because of his albinism. He was always ostracized and bullied by his own kind, but unlike the boy, the kind white wolf didn't fight back. Inside now. Nice. Luckily, with the companionship of the white wolf, the boy's childhood wasn't too lonely. They always played hide and seek together. Gotcha! And so the two young hearts comforted each other in the forest. That day the boy was swimming. He suddenly spotted a tiger that hadn't been seen for a long time. He just licked the water and a lot of blood came out of his mouth. It must have hunted some other creature. The boy was shocked. He stuck his feet in the roots of a tree to prevent himself from floating up, but he spat out a series of blisters from holding his breath for too long. This attracted the attention of the tiger, so he stared at the water and wouldn't leave. The boy was about to lose his breath, but then the tiger turned around and left. After getting ashore, the boy ran as fast as he could, but there was a tiger's roar behind him. The tiger was really waiting in the dark. The boy ran away in a panic. He didn't have time to look at the road. He accidentally fell into a human trap. His scream spread throughout the forest, and the panther heard it. He rushed over to the boy. Luckily, the boy's body wasn't harmed. He was lucky to avoid the deadly spikes, but the tiger is prowling outside the cave. If he climbed up there, he'd be dead. Just when the boy didn't know what to do, there was a sound of heavy footsteps from above. Then a fleshy thing wriggled down and wrapped itself around the boy's body, and then it swept him up into the air. When the boy came up, he stared at the creature in front of him and froze in his tracks. It was the elephant, the guardian of the forest, who had saved him. This old elephant was covered in moss. The most conspicuous thing was its broken tusk. It was a frightening sight. The elephant turned and left without asking for anything in return. The boy had no time to lose and followed the panther quickly. But after what he's been through, the panther realized that the jungle was no longer the right place for the boy. He should return to the human tribe because tigers are afraid of human fire. That's where he would be protected. But the boy had already made this place his home. He refused to leave. The panther had no choice but to make a pact with him that if he came in first in the next pack competition, he could stay here. All is a race between all the coyotes. A hunter will interfere on the way. Whoever comes out on top will be the king of the wolves. But even the best hands are not as good as legs, so the boy was always slower than the other wolves. So he had to find another way to practice after class. After class, he find another way to practice over and over again, to use his hands to his advantage. Only the black bear who accompanied him knew how hard it was. Finally, the day of the competition arrived. This time, Mr. Panther was the hunter. Looking into his cold eyes, the boy was so nervous that his whole body was shaking. He knew this trial would not be easy. At the command of the Wolf King, all the wolves rushed forward. The weakest, White, was the first to be caught. The boy was no better. The Black Panther lunged straight at him. It was as if the boy was the only thing in his eyes. When they saw each other, he saw the killing intent in the panther's eyes. Yeah, he was in a panic. The boy could only keep climbing up the tree. The panther was getting closer and closer. Yeah! Luckily, with the advantage of his small size, he escaped from the gap. Then he follows the vines to the other side. Now, if he wants to win, he'll have to find another way. So the boy jumps off the cliff in a desperate attempt. Luckily, he managed to grab a branch. Then he slid down the pole. He took a shortcut. He soon caught up with the wolves. As he watched, the boy was the first to come. The black bear's face was full of wonder. But just as he was about to cross the finish line, a black shadow suddenly appeared. And that's how he ended up at the finish line. As the panther hissed at him relentlessly, the boy's eyes were filled with fear and resignation. Fear because he was shocked by the panther's ferocity, and resentment because it was obvious to everyone that the panther was targeting him. The boy, with tears in his eyes, complained to the black bear. The panther is helpless, but for the sake of the boy's safety, he had to be the bad guy. At this moment, the loss is already a fact. The black bear, as the referee, could not change it. In the end, the boy cried and laughed.